Hey, I'm Will, and this is Backyard Outdoors. And today we're going to give you a little canoeing, kayaking, and tubing tip for those of you who are going on rivers or ponds or lakes or anything of that sort. And what we're going to talk about is footwear. Now, sadly, in this world we are in today, there's a lot of trash in this water. So I always recommend wearing something, whether it's, just, if nothing else, just to protect the bottom of your feet. But we have a hierarchy of what we think is better. For instance, flip-flops, unless you're just walking a beach or you're on the deck of a pontoon or some yacht or something, are never a good idea in the water. They come off. There's no way to tie them on. These happen to have a pretty heavy sole, but there's no foot-toe protection for any water, any underneath obstructions like rocks or trees or branches or anything like that. And your toes can still get cut, and so can the side of your foot if you hit any trash or anything of that nature. And not to mention, if you're in some of the more muddy rivers, you can lose them. They come off real easy and they'll be down the river, and then you will be one flip-flop shy. And that's never a good thing, because now you're one-footed, and even if you were careful, you still could injure your other foot with a stick or rocks or trash or anything. So flip-flops are definitely not recommended for kayaking, canoeing, or tubing. The next ones we have here are these water socks. Now you can pick these things up pretty cheap, in your big box stores and have. These are my personal set, which I wear down in Jamaica on the beach. And, and I wear on other beaches. But also, they're pretty good for, boats and stuff like that. And they're not too bad for canoeing. The problem with them is they got a good hard sole with good traction so you can walk around. They dry out real quick. They don't let a lot of rocks in. They let the water out. It's got somewhat of a toe. The problem is there's no real good way to keep them on. I mean, you get them on, they feel tight, but the minute you get sunk in mud, again, you're going to be one flip-flop shy. And in whitewater of any sort, whether you're rafting or whatever, they're not a good idea because, again, the rocks become a real issue. And they have small toe, but nothing worth talking about, and they can really, really rack you up. So them are better than flip-flops, but not a ton. And they're not as good as water sandals. Now these water sandals are pretty nice. If you get yourself a set of water sandals, get you some with a heavy toe, some good tread on the bottom so you can walk around, and a way to fasten them on nice and tight from the front and from the back, like these here are. These have also got a nylon mesh so they dry out pretty quick and they don't hold a lot of water. The problem is they can collect a fair amount of rocks, and then you're constantly taking them off and putting them on, and every time you take one off you stand the risk of losing it. And once you lose it, again, you're in the same situation if you lose any of these, that you'll have one bare foot, and that's never a good thing. So, but these aren't too awful bad. If you're going to get yourself a good pair of water sandals, get some with some toe and get ones that you can fasten on nice and tight so they don't come off in the mud, although these still can. My personal choice is tennis shoes. Now I've got an old pair of Chucks here that I just love, and they got a good heavy toe, rubber toe, so you don't crush your feet on rocks or sticks or underneath water. They got a good bottom with some tread, so you don't get cut with no glass or cans or any other thing that some riffraff throws into the river. And best of all, they tie on tight. That way, if you get sunk in some mud, you won't lose them. You get in some white water and flip your boat, you won't lose them. They won't come off in the current or anything else. And they can repel rocks really easy. The other thing I like about them is these are canvas, and they dry out pretty quick. Plus, if you tie them good and tight, you won't get no rocks or crap in them. But actually, you could use any old type of tennis shoe, and as long as it's got a good solid toe, and it can be leather or it can be the nylon ones, it doesn't really matter. I prefer tennis shoes because you can tie them on tight, and you won't stand a chance, and you stand a lesser chance of losing them. So if I had to choose, these are the way to go. Now, so anyway, there's our take on what you should wear when you're kayaking, canoeing, or tubing, or for that matter, whitewater rafting. These being the worst, you just don't want them. These being the next up, these are okay, but you can still end up losing one in the mud pretty easy. These are actually pretty decent, but again, they can come off because you just can't get them on there tight enough. But if nothing else and you want to stay cheap, that's the way to go. Or a good old set of pair of tennis shoes, which is my favorite, that you can wear. And they dry out quick and they protect your toes. That's what we're after. Toes and the bottoms of your feet, and you don't lose them, but you can tie them on. So anyway, that's our tip today for footwear for kayaking, canoeing, or tubing. And hey, I'm Will, and this has been your Backyard Outdoors water tip for the day.